It's still really cloudy for where I live, and it's supposed to be cloudy every single day this week. It's supposed to rain, but it's sort of brightened up where I'm like, okay, we could film this video and the lighting not be absolutely awful because every other day has been that way. And it's a big, big month of reading. And I was like, I want this video to at least have some good lighting for all of the books that we're going to be talking about today. Happy Friday, my friends. I'm so excited that you're here today. I am talking about the 51 volumes of manga that I read in the month of January. Oh my goodness, I was completely shocked when I realized how many I read, and that doesn't include, I think, 4 of them that were 2-in-1. So I read close to 60 volumes, and wow, it was really surreal. As you guys know, or you may have not known, last month, across 2 to 3 weeks, actually a little bit longer, my family and I all came down with COVID one at a time. When I was sick, I read almost 20 volumes of manga alone within 2 days. I don't recommend that, and hopefully I could talk about them because I do remember them and I really enjoyed the ones that I read, but at the same time, I was not all there at all either when I was reading those. So I'll totally make a note of those if I'm like, I don't know what to say, because then you can know those are the books that I read when I had COVID and again was not fully coherent in that moment. But there were so many great and epic titles. There is a Instagrammer, I don't know if she's a pen maker or if she just shares a bunch of pens. I'm blanking on what her feed looks like, but she recently put together or did a graphic template, and I'll leave it here in case you want to check it out, where you choose each month your favorite book of that month, and then you put it on this graphic. I have been thinking the past 2 days of what my favorite manga was from this past month because there were just so many phenomenal, amazing stories that I just felt completely invested in. And even though I typically feel like I don't read back to back quite like this, where I finish one series and I start another like the same day. Typically I don't do that. I like to savor the stories that I'm reading, but even with all of that and going sort of out of the ordinary for me, I still savored so many of these stories, and I will say what my favorite book of the month was at the end because it was a struggle. I think there were 3 different picks that I had in mind, and I finally decided on one of them right before filming this video. As always, I'm going to start with the digital manga, but I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to talk about the serializations or manga that's being serialized. With one of them, it's actually a manhwa, and you guys know, last month in my reading wrap-up, I said no more manhwa, no more reading like chapters every night because I was reading so much and my brain was just too focused on that and didn't want to read other things. But somewhere during this month or last month in the sickness, I did read 2 chapters of, I think it's Divorcing My Tyrant Husband, I believe is the name of it. And I don't know what it is about this manga. It's not like one of my favorites, but the main heroine or the heroine, I love her bravery and how she's like, I'm going to do everything I can to get my husband to divorce me. Her shenanigans and the things that she does, I am just completely mind blown. It was very enjoyable these last 2 chapters. I love how she is just so gutsy. She does not care what other people think of her, including her tyrant husband. And it's been interesting seeing where she's making these decisions thinking, oh yeah, he's definitely gonna divorce me, and then him actually seem to like her even more than he did before. I don't know when I'm gonna come back to it because it's sort of, I think, my spare time manhwa, I guess, at this point. I only read 2 chapters, but I did really enjoy them. For the next one, hopefully I get this right. I actually binge read this all, like, I think 9 of the 10 chapters in one sitting, and that is Disguised as a Butler, the Former Princess Evades the Prince's Love. I really, really enjoyed this one. I did talk more in depth about it in the Childhood Friends to Lovers video. Oh my goodness, it was so good. It's such a fun and enjoyable read. I have to read 1 more chapter. I think there's actually 3 that are up now, but I have not read them yet. I do want to actually keep up with it because I really love the prince, and when he's with the main heroine Lily, oh man, but her being a butler definitely throws some shenanigans that are happening and a lot of stress and anxiety. So definitely check out that video if you'd like to hear more about it, because it's one I would definitely recommend, especially if you like where they have to keep their identity secret. Now we're going into the actual digital manga that I read. The first one that I bought, well, I actually bought this one with some promotional credit, was The Coppersmith's Bride. I did a poll sometime at some point that you guys voted. It was between this one and it was an Otome light game one. I don't even remember remember what the name of that one is off the top of my head, but across the polls that I did, this one won. It was very enjoyable. It was very different than I expected. I thought there would be a little bit more of the romance to it, but what made it different is it's very informative. I cannot remember the city that they live in, but it honestly was like if you were like being a tourist in this city, this is what you're seeing. And that was really, really cool. It actually became my favorite part, even though, like I said, I was bummed that it did not have a strong romance focus. I love the romance. It was very, very sweet. They have such a great relationship. Oh my goodness. The next one that I read was actually a series that has been on my TBR for a good hot minute, and that is Karate Heat. I finally finished this series after probably roughly 2 years. I reread volume 1 and then I read volume 2 and 3, and the only disappointment about this series is that it was so short. I honestly feel like when you get to the 3rd volume, it's just beginning. It's just kicking off, and you can see that in those final chapters, and I just wish that the manga had so much more time to be able to flesh out this story. It was absolute perfection. I felt extremely engaged as Shinya goes to perform and compete, well, not perform, when he goes to compete with karate. It reminded me exactly like the energy, the atmosphere. It totally reminded me of when I went with my husband, my family and I, when he was doing a competition, a jiu-jitsu competition a few years ago. Like the energy that was captured in this story was just so vibrant, and the way Shinya grows was so amazing. He's such a sweetheart, and I loved his friendship. I can't remember the guy's name, but they were so great. I definitely recommend this series if you don't mind something that's short. It definitely feels like it has closure, but it definitely is like it could have gone so much longer, especially in that 3rd volume where Shinya's discovering his style and how he can grow as an individual with his specific style. It was so good. It was so good. I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm so glad that I finally came back and finished this series. The next one I read, and I would like to say a huge shout out to the author. I was able to receive a digital copy of her book, and that was All Star Nights. This is a manga that she is publishing, and it was really, really good. I love the art. The storyline is very engaging. I was surprised how shonen-like it was, and I don't know if I wasn't thinking that it'd be shonen. I knew it wasn't a shoujo, but it's very fantasy-based, and just the action scenes and the underlying tension and mystery between the characters, I felt like the whole cast was very original and very unique, and there was some great humor that was woven in as well. I do believe that this manga has officially released, and I'm so excited for the author because I definitely recommend this one if you're looking to support self-published authors, as well as if you like shonen, fantasy, and just a good blend of humor. Oh my goodness, this has been on my TBR, just like Karate Heat, for a good hot minute, and I finally started volume 1, or I read volume 1 and volume 2 of Ron the Peerless Beauty. It was perfection. Oh my goodness, I absolutely loved it. I see why people love this series. Oh my goodness, I can't remember the guy's name, but I'm gonna leave a image here or one of the illustrations here because his smile is sunshine, and I could not get enough of his smile. These two have such a great connection and just a great building of friendship. I love how they encourage one another. I love their blooming romance. The flower theme aspect has been very beautiful, and I love how it's a very central part of the plot. I did just buy volume 3 because I did see it was cheaper, and I did have some promotional credits, so I only got it for like $2. And I'm like, yes, I need more of this couple. I really want to see the ship sail. I'm pretty confident that it does because they're both on the cover. It's very, very good. I highly recommend it. The hype is real, and I would desperately love to see this series printed because definitely, I wish I could remember it, but it very much reminds me of Kimi ni Todoke, and oh man, there's another series that it reminds me of, but I cannot think of what it is off the top of my head. I did not write in-depth reviews on Goodreads, and I'll leave my link to my Goodreads account down below because with all of these volumes, I did leave in-depth reviews, well, some more than others, but I did leave individual reviews, spoiler-free, on my Goodreads account. These two, I didn't leave very in-depth reviews because I was so tired, but I absolutely loved it. Had very fond memories, if that's the right word, of when I was reading it, and it was just happiness for my heart, and I am desperate for more volumes. I know Kodansha just put this series on sale sometime late last year. I regret skipping that sale so very much. I'm like, man, Laura, why didn't you get it? Because I should have known. I should have known that I was going to really love this series because the main girl, Ron, is so very sweet. And I love how there's just misunderstandings of how people view her, and having this young man come into her life, just encourage her, then be there for one another. It is amazing. I highly, highly recommend it. Another digital series that I read is I'm in Love and It's the End of the World. Oh my goodness. So I bought volume 1 long time ago, like probably around the same time I bought Karate Heat, which was like 2 years ago or more. I finally decided, I was like, we're gonna go and start it because Azuki, I have a membership with them, and they had almost all of the entire series, I think, except for the very final volume. This series was so wholesome and so sweet and so moving, and I could not get enough of it. It was very, very good, but the ending, the 5th volume, was everything. It is one of the most beautiful, most compelling volumes that I've read. I was so hesitant because volume 4, I gave it the lowest rating of 3 stars because so much happens at the end of that volume, and I'm just like, how is the manga gonna wrap this up? How is this gonna happen? It's 5 volumes, you have all these things happening. I'm like, I don't feel I have the confidence to believe that volume 5 is gonna wrap up, but it wrapped up so beautifully, brought tears to my eyes. I actually read that volume twice because it was so moving, and just seeing these characters so transparent, and seeing especially our main girl grow in self-confidence from who she is at the beginning, because it was really hard, and I could see it being hard for other people because it's just like she has no kind of confidence in herself. She lives in her twin sister's shadow, and she really believes that nobody's gonna love and care for her specifically. Enter our hero who has a great backstory. Very sad, but great backstory in the sense he's such a three-dimensional character where there's so many different parts of him that are very compelling, and I just really, really loved him and the heroine. Both of their journeys throughout this series were absolutely incredible, and I cannot remember the guy's name, but the hero's best friend, that dude was the MVP. I wish there were more shoujo hero best friends like that guy, because his actions were top-notch and just had so much respect for him and what he does. That guy's the MVP. That guy's the MVP of this series. I highly recommend this one. It is so cute. It's a very moving story. When you first read it, it feels like it's just going to be all this wholesome cuteness, and it is, but as it goes, the characters grow, and you see their fears, you see their worries, and you see them overcome that, and you see them find real love and real joy, and it was such a delight and true beauty to read this series. I very, very much enjoyed it. I wish I had more focus when I read this, because I finished it and I was like, I would love to review this on my channel, because that 5th volume stuck with me and really hit me. Was very, very happy just how this series wrapped up, and definitely recommend it. The next book I read was actually an early copy that I received through NetGalley and Beneath the Tangles, so huge shout out to Viz and Beneath the Tangles because I was so thankful, and that was Love's in Sight. This was my most anticipated shonen release of the year, and at first I had such mixed feelings. I came into this volume thinking that they were in college, and they're not. So once I got over that expectation, because don't ask me where it came from, they even look like high schoolers on the cover, so I don't know where I had the disconnect, but this story, this first volume, was absolutely amazing. I came in wanting the romance, expecting the romance. I got some of the romance, but there is such a deeper part of this story. It's very eye-opening and makes you very aware of the blessings that we have and the things that we take for granted. And I realized I didn't say it before, but the main girl is blind, and the young man is a delinquent, and he's so adorable. He's so cute for a delinquent. I'm like, I love this trope where you have a delinquent and they are just so cute and so adorable, and definitely do not live up, maybe yes in the fighting that they do, but overall they do not live up to this fearful reputation. That is definitely what it is. But there is so much attention in detail and awareness that is brought up for those who have a visual impairment that I was really taken aback. Like, this is so much more than just a romantic story. I am definitely pre-ordering volume 2. It very much reminds me of Perfect World, that when you go in, you're expecting this romance and you get so much more, where you're so much more aware of things around you and of these issues that happen for people who have these struggles. There's a conversation that the heroine has with her sister that is so good. I felt it was very relatable and very real, and I just commend the manga so much, because I think that was something they mentioned at the end and they're like afterward, that their goal was just to raise awareness, and I feel like they met that times 10. I'm very excited to see more of this awareness in the upcoming volumes, but also the romance because these two are so adorable. They're so cute. Definitely recommend it. Keep an eye on it. I think it comes out in March, the first volume. Very much looking forward to it because I definitely have that volume pre-ordered as well. The last digital manga that I read this month was Boss Bride Days, and it was so good. I do have a video review right here if you'd like to go check it out, so I'm not going to go in depth about this one, but I loved it. Very, very good. Highly recommend. I've been very happy to see that I was not the only one who gave it 5 stars on Amazon because I feel like it is rightfully deserved. It is a very fun first volume, very engaging, and cannot wait for the second volume. Like, come on, I need it here like yesterday. So definitely check out that video review if you're interested. I highly recommend this to those who like Yakuza romances, who like otome games, and lots of humor and great art. Okay, now we are on to the physicals, which is quite a bit. So let's go ahead and dive in. The very first read that I read was The Masterful Cat is Depressed Again Today. This was so great. I really, really enjoyed this. I was trying so hard to finish it before January started because this was a gift from my Secret Santa with such a wonderful series. I honestly wish I had this giant cat in my life because he would make life so much easier. And I'm like, I'm trying not to be low-key jelly of our main heroine because, like, girl, you have life so easy. You go to work and then he does your cooking, your cleaning, and everything else. And I'm like, I know life's probably not always gravy for you, but man, it's pretty nice. Plenty of fun shenanigans, fantastic art. I definitely recommend it if you like a humorous slice of life with some of the work atmosphere. I don't know if it's gonna have a romance. I'm low-key shipping her with a certain someone, but I'm like, even if they don't, it's very fun, and I like the characters, just their shenanigans, and their relationship is so funny and so great. It's a very comforting slice of life, I feel, that has some great humor. The next book I read I don't actually have because I sent that to Marguerite's Manga, and that is Doomsday with My Dog. I was really excited to read this one, and I feel like Wonder Cat Q-chan sort of spoiled me, to be honest, because I thought it would be very similar to Wonder Cat Q-chan, which I will be talking about here in just a few minutes. I was comparing it to that. My daughter's here and she wanted me to show you. So yes, I read this one, not at the same time. I read this 2 days ago, I think it was. I thought Doomsday with My Dog would be as cute as Q-chan was, and it is to a degree, but not the same degree that I wanted it to be. I love the aliens in Doomsday with My Dog. It was so funny every time that the aliens came on scene, and I really enjoyed that the humor that they brought, but I'm not really sure exactly what it is. I know I didn't like the owner. She treats the dog really mean-like, in my opinion. Wish they would have had like a better relationship from her point of view. I think that would have been a little bit better for me, or more engaging, maybe. I do think that the dog is really smart, and I'm like, whoa, dude, like, you have some pretty profound words here at times, and other times they're really, really funny. So I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about it. I think I gave it 3 stars. I don't know. I don't know if I gave it 3 stars or 2 stars. I really just was sold on the aliens, but I don't plan to continue this series because even though it's fully colored and the quality of the cover is so incredibly nice, as well as the page quality too, I just don't see myself getting hooked or loving the next volume because I didn't like the main girl, and even though the dog was super cute, it wasn't enough for me to want to keep reading. So that was the only, I feel like, the biggest thing that I didn't love this month. Now for my next one, I absolutely loved it so incredibly much. This was one of my most anticipated shoujo for this year. I do have a video here if you'd like to check it out, seeing what other titles were on my most anticipated that are only shoujo and josei, and that is Honey Lemon Soda. Oh my goodness. This was so good. Oh my goodness. I forgot I do have a video review up on this channel. I'll leave a link here or down below. It was amazing. I won't go in depth about this, but definitely a shoujo manga that was worth the hype, is worth the hype, and highly recommend. Cannot wait for volume 2. This has been one of my latest obsessions, and I'm so excited because when I originally read this, I read it from my library, and then I went and stocked Mercari, eBay, thrift books, all the places for used manga so I could get this for myself. And I was so very thankful that I found a really good deal on that, and that is Alice in the Country of Hearts, the original series. It is 3 volumes. They are 2-in-1s. I love this. I am obsessed. This series was absolutely amazing. I love Alice. I love the whole cast of characters, except for maybe Peter White. Peter White's not my favorite of all the characters, but he really grew on me to the end of this series. The art is absolutely amazing, and I really feel like this is just such a special series because I loved all of the guys. It is an otome game in Japan, and I so desperately wish that we had it here in the United States because I would definitely play it. It was such a wonderful time reading this. I love it. I highly recommend it. Thankfully, it doesn't seem too hard to find, and the prices aren't too expensive, but there's so many different spin-offs, and I did read a few this past month, and it's been really cool. Even if I haven't loved all the spin-offs I've read, it's very awesome just being able to see the characters stay alive in my brain and them not just sort of, you know, vanish after a few months or something. It's been such an adventure, and just I'm so glad I gave this manga a chance. Shout out to the person that recommended it to me, I think in December, because this was definitely one of my favorite reads this month. I very much enjoyed it. I was super happy with the ending and very much looking forward to rereading this again because that is why I got it, because I'm like, I need to be able to read this and look at the pages anytime I want and not just have to go visit the library to get back into Wonderland because it's such an incredible and fun journey. Next up is one of my few shonen series that's ongoing that I'm reading, and that is Kaiju number 8, volume 5. This volume was so good. Every time I read a Kaiju number 8 volume, I'm like, don't forget to breathe, Laura, and I forget to breathe every single time. This character is interesting. I won't talk much about him, but I have so many conflicted feelings on him because just there's so many conflicted feelings. I think he's a very cool character, but I absolutely hate and loathe what he said to Kafka, and I'm like, no. But it's really hard to hate his guts because he is really cool. He does some cool things, and I'm like, Monica, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing, so I cannot wait to see what happens next. As always, it ends on a cliffhanger. The art is absolutely amazing. The action is super engaging. Again, I forget to breathe. But the first quarter of this book, as it continues from what happened in the previous volume, explosive. I mean, I could not stop reading, and just the sound of somebody's name, I did not realize could be so powerful as it was shown in this manga. Definitely continue to keep reading this series. If you're not reading it, or if you're like, oh, I'm going to put it down, come back to it. It just keeps getting better and better, and oh my goodness, I cannot wait for the next volume. I almost said a spoiler and then I had to change it, but I honestly cannot wait for the next volume. It's one that I always read every time I get it in because I just love these characters in this series. Thanks to Shay at Shay Geeks Out and Maeve at Maeve Ever Reading, I read so much manga because of the Tackle My TBR challenge, and this was one of those, and that is Dinosaur Sanctuary. I've had this on my shelf for months now, and I was really excited. I pre-ordered it like long time ago because I was super interested, and then it just sat there, and so I was like, you know what, we're gonna try it to see if we want to keep continuing the series and such. This was such an informative first volume. I was very surprised. It's just so scientific. You really genuinely learn about dinosaurs, and what's really cool is it very much feels like our main girl, is a zookeeper. Yes, she's a dinosaur keeper, but I feel like it brings the job and the duties and the everyday life of zookeepers like at our zoo in real life to life in this really whoa kind of way. Like, I didn't know that's what you had to do to help take care of these animals. And that was what was really cool about this volume, is that the dinosaurs felt real, like that you could just go over to a dinosaur place and go visit them. That was really interesting. The art was, I mean, I felt, see if I can find a corner of one of the dinosaurs. I just felt that I could reach out and my hand could feel just the texture of the dinosaur skin, which was super cool. I have not personally felt that before while reading a manga, but just the details and the art was just jumping off the page. And I'm like, this is really cool. Here we go. We'll go with the colored page. I don't know if it shows well, but I just think that this attention to detail, like so where you could just rub your hand across it and feel it. You can't, but I wish that you could, and it wasn't just smooth paper. It was very cool, and it continues the whole way, the situations that they face, and I love how much the main girl just absolutely loves dinosaurs, and how that causes not necessarily issues, but everything is not sunshine and roses, and I thought that was very interestingly addressed. I think I said that right, but I thought it was addressed in an interesting way. There we go, that sounds better. So I would definitely recommend, like, if you enjoy things about reading things about zookeepers, dinosaurs, and having, like I said, that more scientific approach to it, this is one I would not pass on. I am very curious and interested about the second volume to see where it goes, especially with the ending, because it was a little bit of a cliffhanger, not necessarily with the dinosaurs, thankfully, because there are some things that happen with dinosaurs and I'm like, oh my goodness, let this dinosaur be okay. Let this dinosaur be okay. So it sort of stirs up that, I don't know if worry is the right word, but that anticipation where you're like, I really hope everything's okay. But there's an emotional response that happens at the end with some characters that I'm very curious to see what is the backstory there and what is going to happen next. The next series I read, I only was able to read half of it, and unfortunately I had to return it to my library, so I was not able to finish it, and that is Blank Canvas. I know so many different people have recommended this to me, and it was really good. I did not love the first volume. I don't know what it was. I just couldn't super get into it, but then I read the second volume and I liked it a lot more. And then the third volume, I think I actually read up to the half of volume 4, but the third volume was very hard, but it was very, very good. As a creative, I was able to relate to the manga a lot, where you have to pick and choose which of your hobbies are you going to pursue, why are you going to pursue it, how are you going to handle the expectations or what other people want for you. Maybe they're not expectations, but there's still that pressure there. I really, really resonate with that as a creative, and it definitely brought tears to my eyes. Volume 4, I feel like was getting even better, and I was just bummed that I had to return to my library. So even though I was not hooked in the beginning, I definitely, with each volume, I increased the stars every time, and it was just totally a 5-star reading. It was very interesting seeing behind the scenes of her art journey and how she became the manga she is today. I hope here soon that I can go back and get volumes 4 and 5 so I can finish up the series. I do hear it's very emotional, and I was like, I can see why it is, because I got teary-eyed at the end of volume 3. I'm very glad that I was able to at least finally start this iconic series. The next series I read was actually a spin-off of Alice in the Country of Hearts, and I'm trying to think of the name of it. I borrowed it from my library. It centers around one of the guys. His name is March Elliott. I loved Elliott in Alice in Wonderland. Oh my goodness. Well, like in the series, I mean. He is part of the Hatter's Mansion. He's part of the Mafia. He's such a sweet being. Oh goodness, he is a cinnamon roll character, but I think it's called the Fanatic Rabbit or something like that. I did not love this 2-volume series. I sort of skim read it before I returned it to my library, and I liked volume 1 better the second time, and I disliked volume 2 more the second time, which was funny because I'm pretty sure that was reversed when I read it the first time. I just didn't feel that some of the parts were true to his character, and I really disliked one of his actions in the second volume because he was really jealous. I was like, he's a cinnamon roll character. I mean, he works for a mafia boss who's a cinnamon roll, and I just didn't feel that was fully shown, explored in the volumes, but the art was really nice, and I did like being able to see that specific ship sail, because that was one ship that I'm like, I definitely wouldn't mind more of it. But it was just not my favorite. I was told that there is another spinoff that centers around him, and they thought it was really good, so I definitely want to check that out, because I love Elliot. He's so sweet with his little rabbit ears and him denying that he's not a rabbit. What did he say he is? He's a hare. And they're like, but you love carrots and that's all you eat. And he's like, that doesn't mean I'm a rabbit. He's like, I don't just eat them raw. He eats them cooked in different ways and different meals. But it was okay. I mean, I'm glad I read it for sure. The next one that I read was also a spinoff, and that is Love Labyrinth of Thorns. And this one centers around Julius and Alice. Out of all the spinoffs that I read this month, I loved this spinoff so much. Julius really stole my heart in the second volume of the main series, and I just feel like his personality, his quirks, his charms was just so highlighted in this volume, and really felt it was such just a faithful adaptation, I guess, of his character, and it was very, very sweet. Also, it was cliche, and I'm like, girl, get out of here. I'm like, even if it was, I really loved it. Ace played a big role in it, and Ace is one of my favorite characters, and so I really loved seeing their friendship on page, and seeing Alice not come to terms with her feelings, but seeing her explore her feelings was very wonderful. It was very shoujo. The other series about Elliot did not feel quite shoujo, but this one feels extremely shoujo. And so if you ship Julius and Alice, you must read this one, because it is wonderful. The art is gorgeous, and I really loved how it's sort of a slow burn, but not in a, try to think of how to finish that statement. I mean, I feel like it's slow burn, but it's only one volume, but it was just, the pacing was so well done, and Julius realizing his feelings, and Alice realizing his feelings, and her deciding to stay. All of it just added up, and it came together in such a beautiful, profound, and natural way that I absolutely loved. I actually just skim read this again last night, because I'm like, I really miss those two, because they're super cute, and I really, really love their relationship in this one. The next manga I read that I have had on my shelf, I think sometime since last year, it was a gift from Ayyye Its Dags. I will leave her channel down below. And that is volume 1 of Tokyo Revengers. I am very shocked how much I enjoyed this first volume. I came in very, very hesitant. I'm like, I just don't know. I'm like, fighting manga doesn't seem my jam, but it was, like I said, it was a gift from her. So thank you so much for this. I loved it. I actually need to get more volumes for my library because it was so compelling and so engaging. I definitely skimmed over some of the fight scenes, like, nope, I don't need to see that. But I really love the mystery that's going on and how the time traveling works. It caught me so off guard. I was not expecting that. Very much invested seeing where this series goes and what our main guy is gonna do. I'm not sure who my favorite character is just yet. I think it's the girl's brother. I really liked him. Our main guy's pretty cool too. I prefer him when he's an adult though. I prefer him when he's an adult. And Mikey's awesome. Draken's awesome. His girlfriend is super awesome as well. And I'm like, hopefully things end really well for everybody because I will be a hot mess if that doesn't happen by the end of this series. This was also one of my favorite reads this month, and that was Golden Japanesque, A Splendid Yokohama Romance. I reread volumes 1 and 2, and then I read volumes 3, 4, and 5. This was so good. I am so crestfallen that this is on hiatus. It was so good. It was so good. I'm not even sure how to put all the words into a sentence to explain how much I love this series. It was just absolute perfection. I definitely felt like maybe some parts were rushed, especially the romance, but I'm like, I don't care. I love this couple. I love the dynamics. I love how Maria is growing. Or is it Marie? Is it Marie or Maria? Maria. I love how she's growing. I love how she's having confidence in herself, but there were things that happened and I'm just like, and then there was another guy that comes on the scene, this guy right here, and I'm just like, bro, get out the picture. I don't care for you. So I'm like, please, no love triangles in the next volume, and hopefully, I really, really hope that we get it soon, because I did hear that that the conclusion is almost here, and I'm like, I need answers. I need answers because that final volume, well, the 5th volume, really crushed my heart, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. I'm like, I have faith and confidence in the manga here that things are going to be okay, but I'm not okay with how things ended. It is very, very good. The art is beautiful and stunning. I really, really, really love the series. It was definitely another contender for favorite reads this month, but I wouldn't say one specific volume. I would say all 5. It's so good. I'm very much looking forward to the other volumes releasing and rereading this series. I was a little bit iffy if I would love the series because I know a few friends didn't absolutely love like the later volumes, and I'm like, please no, because after I read volume 3, this volume was probably my favorite out of all of them. But after I read this, I was like, oh my goodness, if I don't love this series, I'm like, I am genuinely gonna cry. I'm genuinely gonna cry. But I loved it. It was so good. If you enjoy historical romances with beautiful, beautiful art and heroines and heroes that grow, I highly recommend Golden Japanesque. It is a beautiful and wonderful series, and Maria's growing as a young woman has been everything, and seeing our couple as well, but there's some shenanigans, there's some things that are going on, and I'm just like, I need the final volume. I need the final volume, but it was so good. I'm so very glad I read. That was actually one of the happiest things that I loved about this Tackle My TBR challenge, because it not forced me, but it encouraged me and pushed me to read things like this on my shelf, and I just was reminded how much I love this series because I loved volume 1 and 2, but as I just kept reading, I just fell more and more in love with this series. It's so very good. So I don't have it on me. I did try the manga 7th Time Loop, and I was so bummed. I did not love this one, guys. I was so bummed. I don't know what happened. I don't know where the disconnect came in. This was the other series or the other manga that I read that I did not love. I did decide to drop the series because I had volumes 1 and 2. Love the beginning. I love the idea of her having lived 7 times and her being a different person in each life and how she's able to use those skills and those abilities in this life. But I don't know, just as the manga went on, I didn't find myself as invested as I thought I would be. I definitely was not super invested in the romance, and I don't know what that says because I'm like, I usually love the romance, but I was more excited hearing about her past lives and what she did and her plans to do this. Of course, in fiction, those plans never can go the way that the heroine or hero wants them to go, and that's what happened, and I don't know. Sorry, I said that 3 times, but I just could not get into it. I was really bummed. Now, Now, one series that I also finally tried that I was excited to try was Magic Artisan Delilah? Yeah, I think it's Delilah. Wilts No More. I have been collecting this and I finally gave it a try. This was really amazing. I loved this first volume and it was so nice because there's a guy that treats her like crap and I'm like, thank you, the entire cast of characters who was like, that guy is horrible. He's awful. He should not treat her that way. It was very refreshing for everybody to feel that way and like, this guy's crappy because he was. Sorry, my iPad was like, you're running out of storage. So I guess I have to hurry up because I don't know how much storage I have left. But like I was saying, it was really refreshing to see everybody feel the same way about a certain cast. And I love our main girl. One of my favorite parts for sure is seeing her relationship with her dad, how much she loves him, how much she cares for him. It was very, very beautiful and very much treasured it and enjoyed it. The fantasy aspect was absolutely amazing, especially when it comes to these glasses. Oh man, I love this guy here. I want that ship to sail so hardcore, but I really enjoy their friendship. I think it's a great one to try and read if you like seeing a young woman who's like, I'm not going to stay down, and her friends help her not to stay down, help build her up and encourage her and affirm like, girl, you're doing great things. You can do this by yourself. You don't need that guy whatsoever. It was very, very awesome and very satisfying. And also having a great relationship with the parent and seeing, I said that relationship just unfold. Also, just great times with friends and seeing some really yummy food. This was a really great fantasy one, and I'm so glad that I finally read it because it was very, very enjoyable. The next one I read was My Sister the Cat, which totally surprised me how much I enjoyed it. This was a super cute read. I got it because of my daughter, and I absolutely loved it. It was such a joy to read. I definitely have Volume 2 on pre-order. I'm looking forward to trying it out because I just really love this. She's so cute. Like, her expressions are so precious. Like, look at her. She's so cute. I love how her relationship grows with her older brother, how much they care for one another, and very much looking forward to the next volume and seeing just more shenanigans and more cute expressions because she's so sweet. She's so cute. It's definitely, if you enjoy cats and a good slice of life with family vibes, this is a great one to check out. Oh my goodness, this series is everything, and that is no longer Heroine. I read volume 2. It's so good. It is such a hot mess. It's a hot drama. I can't get enough of this. It's like a dumpster fire, but it's a good dumpster fire. Highly recommend it. Oh my goodness. I loved it just as much as the first volume. Hattori, her expressions. Oh my goodness. They're amazing. This is another one I recommend talked about and recommend the childhood friends to lovers. So if you want to hear me gush more about this, go check it out. But I love this. I love this series. Oh man, I am 100% here for it. I'm so conflicted on different things, but I love it. I absolutely love it. I read my first novel in general, like in ages. When COVID was finally ending, I was having a really hard time like recovering, and I think it's just because I wasn't resting. So I went and read a light novel because I'm like, look at all these words. It forces me to stay in bed and not move. This really surprised me. This is the Demon Slayer light novel, The Flower of Happiness. It very much exceeded my expectations. I did not expect to love it as much as I did. Zenitsu's chapters were everything. His character as a whole in this manga, or in this light novel, was so good. I felt like this was such a faithful adaptation of the characters, or representation, I should say, where I just felt like these are the actual characters. Like, they're in their personalities, they're being themselves, and it was so amazing to see that represented in fiction. I got this because of Rengoku. There was a certain chapter with him, but I didn't love that chapter, surprisingly. It was the Zenitsu chapters that I really much enjoyed. I don't know if I'm gonna get the second volume, but I was so happy I read it. It was so good. I really had a fun time, and it was cool being able to get to know the characters better in a different way. Definitely recommend if you were a Demon Slayer fan. For manga, that was competing for my favorite book of this month. It was Fiancé Chosen by the Ring. I finally read it. I understand the hype. Oh my goodness, this is so cute. This is the most fluffy shoujo fantasy I have ever read. Granted, I don't read much fantasy and manga for whatever reason, but this was everything. I am 100,000%, 1,000,000% on board for this ship to sail. I need more. I already had volume 4 on pre-order, but I binge read these. I loved it. I highly recommend it. Like, if you need shoujo fluff, In fantasy, this series is it. Oh, it's so good. The characters, our hero, he's so heroic. He's so dashing and kind. Just sort of makes you swoon. It's very, very good. I loved it. I love how she has a fascination and just passion for embroidery, and how they both just, that he accepts that about her and encourages that in her, and how they just support one another, and how their romance is slowly blooming, and they're like, I can't stop thinking about the other person. Like, yes, 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 yes. It's so very good, and I really, really love it. I highly recommend it. One of my favorite reads for sure this month, that is in the top contender of top 3 favorites this month. So very good. Could not get enough of it. Oh, I'm like, these volumes need to release fast because I desperately need more of them. As I shared before, I did read volume 3 of Wonder Cat Q-chan. Super cute, super cute. I am reviewing this for the Clean Fiction magazine I write for. Very much enjoyed this. It's very fluffy. If you need manga that will just help you de-stress, this is your series. The art's very adorable. Q-chan, just too cute. There's not much else to say except for Q-chan's super cute. I don't know if this is going to be the new norm for this, but I read volume 2 of Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. I love this volume. I love this volume more than the first one. So much so that I am seriously debating a pre-ordering the box set. Oh my goodness, the ending of this, like, the ending, I can't even say anything, but I love the shenanigans. I was not spooked, like I wasn't spooked in the first one, but I didn't feel very afraid, which is a good thing for me, because otherwise I'm like, oh, all the lights need to be on at nighttime. But I didn't feel that way. I really liked how things were wrapped up from the first volume. I can't get enough of these 3. Where's the other guy? But the brother, oh my goodness, the brother, and things with the brother, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I was gushing to my husband about this because I'm like, I need answers, and I'm hoping to read volume 3 here very, very soon. Hopefully I can read it before it needs to get back to my library, but it's been very, very good. Continue to love it. Again, this one even more so. Very, very good. I can't believe how much I love it, because I didn't expect to love this volume more than the first, but hands down, that is the case. Now, I want to talk more about this one, but I don't know how my battery's going to hold up, because now it's saying I have a low battery because I forgot to charge my iPod before filming this video. But I did read volume 1 of Maid Sama. I decided to try Maid Sama because I was tired of seeing hot takes over on Twitter and not being able to form my own opinion. So I tried volume 1. And I did not love it. And I was very, very disappointed. I was very sad because I have bought the whole series. I did sell it to a friend. Loved the guy, Usi. I think that's how you say his name. He was amazing. He was incredible. But I did not like our heroine, Misaki. I did not like how grumpy and mean she was. I just could not find myself to really fully cheer for her and invest in her story. I love the Maid Sama story itself, but it was just Misaki. I just could not get behind her as a heroine. I wish she would be nicer, and I 100% get her reasons of why she is the way that she is and the things that she does. I get all of that, but I just could not fully get invested into the story the way I expected, the way that I hoped. So I'm glad that I was able to give it to a friend who was really, really interested, and I hope that they absolutely love it, because I can see the love and the hype for this series and why people love it, and I really wish that I could have just loved it more myself. But the guy, oh my goodness, I love that dude. I saw a pin of him recently, and I'm like, you know, I could use him on my pin board. Another manga that was worth the hype is A Condition Called Love Volume 1. This was so good. This was so good. I very, very much love this. I was warned that the guy's a little bit of a red flag. I did not feel that way. I was more like, he says things and I'm genuinely concerned for his well-being. I don't think he's even remotely gonna do anything to our girl or anything like that, but he says things that just leave me concerned for him. I'm very curious to see where this romance goes. I love our main girl. The ending, I was a puddle of feels when it ended. Oh, it was so good. It was so sweet, and I cannot wait for volume 2. I believe I have already pre-ordered volume 2 and volume 3 because it was so, so good. This is an excellent start of a shoujo series that's going to be, like, you can already tell, it's going to be so much more than a romance. That these characters are going to grow, they're going to change, they're going to heal, and that is definitely what I'm wanting for our main guy. He hasn't really said anything that leads me like something super bad has happened, but like I said, he speaks just like one-liners that are like something has happened in your life and I hope that you find healing for it. So hopefully that makes sense. But the art is gorgeous and the way that our main girl is very apathetic about love. This reminded me of Imakoi in the sense that our main girl has no idea what to do when you're a girlfriend or what it's like to be in a relationship. And so exploring that has been very satisfying, seeing this in this first volume. I cannot wait for the next volume to release. It's definitely going to be another series that I'm like, I need to read this as soon as it arrives in the mailbox. This manga came really early. It's not supposed to release until like February 14th, but that is volume 2 of Yusatoki Rhetoric. I love this volume. I loved it more than the first. I love the first volume as well, but this volume was perfection. I was sitting in the car this morning. I was like, you know, it gives me Scooby-Doo vibes because there is a little bit of a haunted mansion, kind of haunted house thing that happens, and it was definitely a little bit eerie. I am not even gonna lie. It's like, I'm feeling like the skin's crawling a little bit, but it was really good. Those were actually my favorite chapters, but it reminded me of Scooby-Doo where you get this mystery and this suspense and you know there's nothing real. It's just somebody that's doing the behind the scenes kind of stuff, but you don't know what it is and they have to figure it out. I loved it. I loved it so much. And the ending was very, very moving. Loved the final page, the final line. Cannot wait for volume 3. I saw that it just came up on Right Stuff yesterday. I was like, add to cart. We're going to keep reading this series. Highly recommend if you enjoy mystery stories, especially if they're like historical mystery stories. This has been so, so good. And the art is amazing. I love our heroine and how she's growing as an individual, growing in her power. It's been very, very wonderful to read this story. For my last 3 reads, I'll go ahead and spot them all at once. I read volumes 1 and 2 of the Mad Hatter's Late Night Tea Party. This is another spinoff of Alice in the Country of Hearts, where this centers around her and Blood. This is their love story. I did not love this one. I really loved seeing the internal struggle that Alice had with her feelings for Blood and being in Wonderland, but it was very, very suggestive, and I was like, I don't feel this is fully like true to the characters. I did love seeing Blood's love for tea, though. That was very exciting. The action was very, very good in this second volume, but the suggestiveness was just too much for me. I'm unsure what I'm going to do, if I'm going to keep it in my collection or not, because I'm unsure if I'll actually come back to read it. Elliot was amazing in this series, though. I loved Elliot so much, and I love this cover. I didn't actually know when I bought this, because my library didn't have volume 2, that it was a library copy. I was like, thanks for not telling me when I ordered it, but that's okay. But I'm glad that I read it, because it was interesting, and the ending was very, very sweet. The second volume I felt was very, very good, but the suggestiveness is definitely something to be aware of, because there's a lot of innuendo. There's sometimes some really rude or crass language that goes on, and was a little bit iffy on that. But the story itself was pretty good. I can say for my final read this month, The Clockmaker's Story, which is another one that centers around Julius and Alice. I loved it. I didn't love it as much as the other one. I still think I would give this 5 stars. I haven't written my review for this one just yet, because there was one action that I felt was totally not joyous, and so I'm struggling with that, but everything else was absolute perfection. I really, really, really enjoyed it. Seeing Ace once again and their friendship and just Alice, like their natural progression of their relationship between Alice and Julius, was very beautiful, and seeing even Julius a little bit jealous was definitely, I very much appreciated that, because it was very, very good. I just have to come to terms of how I feel about the one decision that he makes, or how he pressures Alice. I feel like, not in a bad way, like sexual way or anything like that. I'm just like, Julius has never pressured Alice in any of the series, and that's why I love Julius, because he's like, Alice can make her own decisions. So that was the one thing that I really, really wrestled with. So I might try skim reading again to see if I can get more of my thoughts in place and then leave a review like on Goodreads. And this video was 10 times longer than I expected, and I got so excited. You can see there's a lot of series that I really, really enjoyed. As I said somewhere earlier, that Honey Lemon Soda was my favorite read this month, but I would definitely say The Fiancé Chosen by the Ring was my second, and then Boss Bride Days would be my third. But I would love to hear from you, friends. What were some of your favorite reads this month? Did I read any of your favorites? Are there any books that I mentioned that you're very curious about? If you guys have any questions or want to know more about anything, definitely don't hesitate to let me know. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!